need to have 1,000 fans. That's it. 1,000 fans. And don't search million, don't 100,000, whatever it is, all that vanity number type stuff. You need 1,000 core fans that if you drop something, they're there. If you got a show, they're there. If you got new merch that just dropped, they're buying it. New CD, whatever it is. And this goes for business too. You need your 1,000 fans that no matter what you do, because that way, if you go into different things, they're right there with you.
Before we dive in, let me tell you about the book that started a podcasting revolution, Make Every Podcast Want You. It is not just a bestseller, it is a 2-time gold medalist, baby. This book is your ultimate guide to landing dream podcast interviews, building authority authentically, and making your voice the one they remember. If you've got a message and a mission, this is your mic drop moment. Grab your copy today in the link below and step into the spotlight that you were born for. Welcome to the Communication Queens podcast for the visionary leaders, speakers, service providers, and podcasters who are looking to stand out sharing their story. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, former screenwriter turned master communications coach. On this podcast, I'll be coaching you on how to share your own transformation story so that you increase your visibility, influence, and income on podcast interviews. Let's get your voice heard. Jamar, welcome to Communication Queens. I'm so excited to have someone who is so expertly branded, practicing what you preach in branding.
Yes. I live it. I breathe it. It's my life. I mean, I can't get away from it even if I tried. I'm always a big advocate for people really showcasing their brand, letting them share their story, which you are as well. And that's why I'm super excited to be a part of this.
Yeah. So what does having a brand mean to you?
Yeah, I think, well, everybody has a brand. Every single human being on planet Earth has a brand. The question is, do you actually have control over your brand, or you let others control it for you? That's the real question. Because we're always branding, we're always marketing, we're always showcasing who we are and who we represent day in, day out. And oftentimes the things that people say when you're not in the room is oftentimes your brand. When you can't be in there to, articulate yourself, what are they saying when you're not in the room? So I think having a brand is super important. Everybody has one, but it's about being intentional about getting out your message, your story, and what do you want people to know you for? Is it just getting drunk and partying and, you're just with a bunch of people all the time and you don't really have any direction in life? And it's like, yeah, they just go wherever. Or do you want to be known as somebody that's got goals, visions, missions, has value they want to put into the world? You have a unique story that you want to tell. You have a plan in your mind of like, hey, I'm here now, but I'm going here. That's showcasing your brand of who you are. And then just what you represent, like, what do you stand for? What are your values, your morals? Those type of things that really cement you in as like, hey, I know that person for this. And so the more you can make sure that you're intentional about those efforts, the more you're gonna have more opportunity just in this world. And so that's why I'm a big believer in it.
Yeah, it's actually something that I'm teaching my 6-year-old son right now, is the power of branding, because he somehow has decided that it's okay to just wear the same outfit like 2-3 days in a row. Oh. And I'm like, no, we need to change your outfit, change your underwear, please, and and style your hair. And he's like, but Mom, nobody else cares. I said, at this moment, or maybe not to your face, they don't say anything. But being aware of how people perceive you, like, he has a beautiful, effervescent personality. And it's like, whether we like it or not, we do 55% of communication is physiological, which means it is based on how you look. And one of the things that I've loved about your story is the story of the hat.
Yes. Look, I mean, it's so hard because I was just talking to I did a presentation for a group of young adults, so pretty much high school students. It was about 240 of them. And I told them about the story of the hat, where, people told me like, you got to take the hat off if you want people to take you seriously, if you really want to make it, especially when speaking and for your business, just people to take you, like have respect for you, to get in the type of rooms that you want to get in. And I kind of started to do that for a second and started to change my whole business, and my website looked different. Everything just wasn't me. It was just like real corporate, and I don't know. It was somebody else. Somebody else was running that company for a little bit. And then the moment that I started to be like, you know what? I'm just super uncomfortable with all of this, and I can't fake it anymore. I just need to just be me. I was a former hip hop artist. Like, I got hip hop. I got a little of that hip hop in me. So I can't shake it. So I need to just dive deeper into it. So once I started putting the hat back on, I actually noticed the opposite effect, where I started getting more business, more clients, more people wanted to work with me, more speaking engagements, because I started to dive deeper into what makes me unique, as an individual. And people started to know me for having the hat on. So if I ever didn't wear it, like if I had a suit on or something, they're like, dude, where's your hat? Like, I didn't even know this was you. So just whatever that unique ability for yourself, and especially with style and fashion and, apparel and stuff, I feel like if you can express yourself through that, like, I mean, you got the nice gold chain with the blue on, like that's memorable. It's like you're making a statement, and it's super cool. And the more you can do that, the more people you can remember you later on. And that's where more opportunities come up for you, as long as you can actually be active in people's minds and have that
Yeah.
brand stay along for a while.
I did the same thing in my e-commerce company a decade ago, and became this like buttoned up professional. And the idea of like showing shoulders or having any bit of my like sensuality exposed, suddenly that was like, no, you don't do this. We're a startup. We're selling a back stretching device. Like it started to not resonate. And like, I was like, who is this person that I created? And I remember when I was bought out of that company and I started my coaching company, Crown Yourself. And I did my first photo shoot for the company, and I knew all the things that I wanted it to be. And I looked at my wardrobe and I was like, I have no clothes that represent me. Like, nothing represented me. Everything was some caricature that I've created of some buttoned up corporate president of an e-commerce startup. Like, it wasn't sparkly and vivacious and bright and owning like all of who I am. And I actually had to hire a stylist for the photo shoot just so that I could have clothes that actually represented my actual persona.
Yeah, yeah. I highly recommend, if you got a little extra means, to hire a stylist, because I did that about, I think it was like 4 years ago. I need a redo. But I did about 4 years ago, and he put me in certain colors, and like just in like this jacket that I normally wouldn't wear, and like it just was, he really just expanded on like what I was already doing, but pushed me a little bit out of the comfort zone, where I didn't really wear a lot of bright colors and stuff. But now, like, I got shorts that are like pink and orange and like these teals, and I got, I kind of grew into it. I'm like, this is good. Color is good. Color is good.
Color is delightful. Yes. I like, and I love
Yes.
that. I completely agree with hiring professionals to like allow yourself to elevate those areas that you may not recognize need to be elevated. Like, I know for you and FourEva Media, like you're elevating video and audio production and the quality of event experiences. What do you see as the need for that level of elevation? And when do you see when somebody's like got a brand that it's time to actually level up with quality?
Yeah. I oftentimes it's really the starting point, where people just start doing something. But if you can get to a point where, we've worked with a lot of speakers before, where let's say, you're getting gigs, you have your coaching business, you're moving things forward, right? And you've been doing it for a few years, but man, your website, it's just like the pictures are from 10 years ago. You got, your old speakers reel, and it hasn't been updated in a very long time. You have certain branding assets that you use that are just really outdated, and it's not really connecting with anybody anymore. That's where I would say you need to, elevate your game, because it's like, if you want to go to the next level and you want, to increase your speaking fee, or you want to increase your the type of clients that you're going to get, you got to show up there like you're ready for that. You got to be with the times, be relatable, be able to connect. And so that is really the time that you want to elevate what you're doing in the quality, from video, photos, the designs, branding, just the overall experience of working with you. You want to meet people where you want to be at, instead of like where you were.
100%. Yeah, I think that most people make the mistake when I have coached leaders, like where they're branding, they've spent so much time building their business, and their business has a brand, but their personal brand is non-existent. And so
Yeah.
when a leader is like starting to step out of the shadows of from behind their business and they're putting themselves out there, what do you find needs to come first? Do they need to get clear on their values of understanding like what actually is that personal brand? Do you start from the outside in of looking at style, aesthetics? Where do you start in understanding the evolution of the brand journey?
Yeah. Great question. Really where you start is you start within. You have to understand yourself first before you can start to personal brand yourself out to the market. Because they'll eat you alive. They're like vultures out there, man. They'll eat you alive if you're not center and you of yourself, and you don't understand like what you're really in it for. And you have to dig deep and understand your story and your message and the value proposition that you really provide to the world. And then once you understand that, that's where you start. Is you start on the value proposition. And once you understand that, then you know what you can give to the world. Then it's about, how am I actually marketing and communicating that out with everybody else to let people know, hey, this is my gift and this is what I'm bringing to you. And here's the value proposition that I have. And then you know where to go. You can kind of direct and steer your ship, and instead of going in a direction that wasn't meant for you. And so it always starts within before you go anywhere external.
One of the things I've seen with my coaching clients is that there's a difference between what they say they value and what they actually value. And I found that congruence is such an important principle when it comes to anything that's branding or business, because so often, like say, for example, you say family is a huge value for you, but you're not spending any time with your family. And that, if you want to promote that as having family be a part of your personal brand, how is your lifestyle actually congruent with what it is that you're preaching and how you're showing up? When you are doing that exploratory phase of helping your clients understand that level of who they actually are versus who they may think they are or who they may want to be, where do you see people on the scale of congruence typically?
Oh man, that's such a good question. No one's ever asked me something like that, as far as like that deep of a question. That I think most people, they think they're somewhere else, and really they're not close to it. So like they think so it's where they want to be, it's where they think they are, if that makes sense. But where they are is oftentimes they're also still trying to figure out who they like, where they came from. So there's like a lot of discovery about the person and their story, and kind of digging and going backwards to find out why am I unique? What is the thing that I really care for? What do I really want to provide, value into this world? Like, what are the main things? Like, we've had people, especially if they're an executive, or they're in a certain industry, they may be like, oh, I'm really passionate about tech. And then we start to uncover and go deeper and deeper. And no, tech is not really the thing you're passionate about. It's actually people. It's like, yeah, you like like, you're not the one doing the software, the engineering, the coding, the developing part of the tech. You like the experience. You like the people. You like, the camaraderie, bringing people together for change, for like more of a mission aspect. And so when you start to uncover that, it's like, oh, I've always said I'm just like all about tech. I'm like, tech is like an outlet. That's not 100% why you're doing this. So it's digging deep and understanding that and trying to get that story down first, and then you start to go in the direction of where you're trying to go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people lie to themselves as far as
Yes.
and not out of like malice or not out of like intentionally lying, but there is a desire to have that aspirational version of us. And we can only meet that aspirational version when we're accepting of actually where we're at and do both the inner and the external work to thus get to that aspirational version. So we're actually embodying that. Because otherwise, when I see people who have not yet fully embodied the values that they say that their brand preaches, that's where they start to manifest self-sabotage, and
Yeah.
they get haters out of nowhere, and they're not able to withstand the hate or the heat, because suddenly it does trigger those imposter syndrome feelings, because it's not actually them that they're actually personifying or embodying to be anyways.
Right. Right. It's such a crazy and I think it's because of social media. That's why I think naturally you want to be further along than where you're at, but social media, like you look at these people's highlight reels of their lives and you're like, well, these people are so much further, and so I think that I'm there, but you're really not there yet. And it's just like an unfair thing to try to strive for that. But
Yeah.
really it's like especially when there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Like some people, like you think just to get there, it's easy steps. Like there's work that has to happen for you to work internally on yourself and then start to then share that out with the world. And then whatever the world gives you back, like it's a very, you have to be good with yourself and your message and who you are, your story, and not really care about what other people got going on. I mean, they have their own paths and destinies and journeys, but just focus on yourself, and it'll happen for you when the timing is right.
How did your background in hip hop kind of train this worldview for you so that you keep your blinders on for what you're doing?
Oh man, because entertainment's like the worst. It's the worst. You see everybody's getting it. I mean, it's because everybody is a spokesperson for their own brand, and especially like within hip hop. So when I was a hip hop artist, you see all these other people climbing up, they're getting fans, they're maybe getting record deals, they're performing all over the place, and they got merch, they got their CDs, they got a community built. They're like building all these pieces, and you start to get a little envious, and because it's just the worst. Like everybody's promoting themselves in entertainment.
Yeah.
It's not like people are kind of hiding behind like everybody's out there. So I learned this because I was like, look, I control so much within my own sphere, in my own circle of influence.
If you're listening to this interview thinking, I want to do that, I want to be on more podcasts, I want to share my brilliance with the world, then I have got the service for you. It is called Podmatch. Think of it like Bumble, but for podcasting. This AI-powered platform matches you with the right podcast host so you can pitch less and get booked more. I've used it to land aligned interviews that amplified my voice and built my brand. It is literally one of the few services I recommend in my best-selling award-winning book, Make Every Podcast Want You. Sign up now at podmatch.com in the link below.
So I just need to focus on what I got going on. And there's a book I read called Tour Smart. And this book, it talks about that you need to have 1,000 fans. That's it. 1,000 fans. And don't search million, don't 100,000, whatever it is, all that vanity number type stuff. You need 1,000 core fans that if you drop something, they're there. If you got a show, they're there. If you got new merch that just dropped, they're buying it. New CD, whatever it is. And this goes for business too. You need your 1,000 fans that no matter what you do, because that way, if you go into different things, they're right there with you, and you at least have a kickstart into what you need to do. So that's the key that I learned early on. It's like, I don't care what other people got going on. I need to build my 1,000 fans. And then whatever is meant for me is meant for me. And if it becomes more than that, cool.
Do you still dabble in hip hop?
So I do. I still write when I have the time, which is next to never. But so I have my keynote, and at times if the venue is right and the audience is right, I'll actually do a performance of like 2 to 3 songs, and then I actually turn right into the keynote. So I literally come out performing, and the music's going, everything's cracking, people get off their seats and everything. And then I literally put the mic down, go to the lapel, and I go right into the keynote for Change Your Circle, Change Your Life. So that's probably the only time that I now like perform still. And I still love music. I mean, it's always gonna be my first love, and I still love it. Still love it.
I love how you've integrated it into your existing brand and how it's a piece of how you show up. And I think that's something that's so unique. I was at the NABO National Conference, which is the National Association of Women's Business Owners. And there was a keynote speaker who performed opera, and she used her learnings from opera as a demonstration of the principles in which she talked about. And I was like, that is so brilliant. Because I started out in screenwriting and acting in musical theater, and like that's like putting on a show is a love of mine. And that experience really shaped my understanding of how to communicate a story. And so I can constantly leverage those assets. And it's so interesting when I meet other service-based business owners who've never been in the entertainment industry or had any interest in performance arts or anything like that, where suddenly, as I'm discussing with them about the power of podcasting or marketing your business and getting your business out there, they're like, it's secure. Like, it scares me to talk to people. And I'm like, what? How? But then it's, I remember, oh yeah, I have 30 years of like entrepreneurship and stage experience.
Yes. And it's a real skill. I just was telling somebody, if you're in music or within the arts or the creativity side of putting on a show, like you have an advantage, a competitive advantage against the average entrepreneur that doesn't know what that world is like. You do. I mean, especially if you're a solo act, you're essentially an entrepreneur that's promoting themselves and growing their own brand and pushing that out because you have to run the business. Like, you're still running everything, but people just don't call you an entrepreneur. They call you an artist. But really, you are an entrepreneur. So when you switch over and you go to the business world, you have a total competitive advantage. And especially if you use that gift and you showcase it, like, these other people will be like, man, how are they doing this stuff? Like, so natural to them. It's like, yeah, this is what we lived in like every day. So it's super easy. That's why, like, even for me speaking or doing like podcasts like this or media, going on TV, everything is simple because, like, I've been on stages, I've been presenting myself for so long. It's second nature. I don't have to even really try. It's very organic, for me to do. So this lesson, I would say, for people that are listening, it's like, if this is something that's not a skill set to you, just try to grow that confidence within yourself to push yourself out that boundary and try to learn this communication skill, this media skill, because it will help propel your business. I mean, every single time it will, because you become a better communicator and you're actually showcasing who you are. And that's the most the most valuable thing that you could do as a spokesperson for your business. And so learn it, and you're not going to be instantly great at it, but just learn it. Take some steps in that direction.
100%. Yeah, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who was taking some speaking lessons and was struggling. And she was just like, the coach was really hard on her. And she calls me up and she's like, Kim, do I need this? Like, you did your TED Talk in like 3 weeks. And I said, yeah. And it took me, I've been doing theater since I was 10 years old. So I've had almost 30 years of training that when I was presented with the opportunity to do a TED Talk, I knew I could memorize a script. I knew I could write it. I knew I could produce it. I knew I could perform it with a 3-week deadline. But that's because I've spent 30 years. And I've also been honing the message of that talk over 150 podcast interviews. And so there is validity in the practice and in the art of communication and in the repetition and just getting in the reps of getting on stage and fumble. Like I fumbled and failed so many times on stage.
For sure.
I'd love to know, what was your favorite?
Well, I mean, I can give you two. So one was music. So I had a very large show. I actually put on the show. It was at Turner Hall in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Rented out the place. It sold tickets for myself, had people open up, and I was the headliner. And I remember it just being such like an undertaking of an experience, where I was so overwhelmed with the whole thing, and just constantly promoting day in and day out and just trying to get people to come out to the show. So, and I had to pay the insurance, and like there's just so many things I had to pay for, where what happened, I was actually drinking too much during the day, and by time I performed at like midnight, I was gone. I was absolutely not ready for that show. So, and I have this part where I'm performing and I would jump up and like do this kick. And I tried to jump up, do the kick, and I had just slid down right on my butt.
Oh gosh.
Just hit the ground, and I bounced back up and cringe every time. But the people there were like, yeah, like once I got back up. And
did you break your tailbone?
That was no, luckily I didn't break anything. I think just the drinks had numbed everything, I guess.
Oh,
I was good to go, but it was so embarrassing like afterwards, because I didn't even realize I had done it until the next day watching the footage back, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never fallen on stage like that ever. So that was at that time. And then I do remember, especially like with speaking, there's always something that you're going to learn, like when you're giving your talk, there's different environments, different stages, and different types of audiences. And I remember I did a keynote, or it was really a training, with another speaker that we kind of went in on it together, and we trained about 80 plus people in this company retreat. And what happened is that we thought that they were all like in the tech, they're like in the tech space, Salesforce tech space type stuff. And we thought they were like, they would geek out with us. So we had this whole piece of this presentation all about Star Wars and like Game of Thrones and stuff. And like only probably 30% of the audience actually knew what we were talking about. But I remember seeing my guy just like he was like doing kind of voice acting on it, like he was like acting like he was these characters and stuff. And I could just see the crowd just kind of like starting to space out and be like, what are they talking about? We thought it was gonna land and hit, and yeah, that was a little bit embarrassing, just because, and this is a lesson for all speakers, is like, you really just be careful with like pop culture and like, things that you think people should know. You might think like Star Wars is the biggest thing, and like people are going to get this joke. They've seen the movies. Doesn't mean that necessarily your whole audience knows about Star Wars. Like, careful with movie references, pop culture, like just all that stuff. Just careful, because you don't know if it's going to land or not.
Yeah, you got to pre-frame movie references, and I think give a little bit of context, especially that's what I've seen after bombing as well with movie references, where one time I was giving a presentation for a tech company and Fox employees, and I had some music playing, and I had only one person was like, is this the Goofy movie soundtrack? It was that song by I forget what his name, it was the one that the guy Dan does at the end, and it was the one-to-one song, and he was like, this, I was like, yeah. But it was an older group that weren't necessarily millennials who enjoyed Disney movies. So the track didn't really land as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, you're probably like getting your presentation together, like, oh, this is gonna kill. This is gonna kill.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good part. And next thing you do it, you're like, hello.
Crickets. It's like, how do you not know power line?
Yeah. It's crazy. Like unless you're literally, unless it's the well, actually, even if it's the company that like produce something or like that should know, depending on the departments and stuff, like even that's not a, like I was thinking if you did, something for Disney,
Mm-hmm.
And you put a Disney reference of a movie, like there would probably be people in the audience that still haven't watched that movie before or I haven't done that. So you
Yeah.
got to just be careful, like all around. You just don't know what people know.
Yeah. And definitely pre-framing can really help with giving some context to the experience rather than assuming I just always assume me.
Yeah.
If that anytime you assume, that's just basic rule, just instead of assuming that people know what, and that goes for any framing of any sort of context. Like whenever I talk about trauma or anything, I don't assume anymore that people understand how to process or have a conversation and hold space for a conversation that deals with trauma, because we haven't been really taught that as a culture, as a society. So being able to openly communicate and kind of give context to stories can really help guide your audience so you don't get that blank stare. Because I mean, I'm sure you felt it, like when you get that sort of zoning off feeling, you can feel it from the audience. And the hard part is on a podcast interview, you can't really feel that directly from the audience, but you can from the host. Quick pause, Queen. Can I let you in on a little secret to our back-end brilliance? It's Kajabi. I've been using Kajabi since 2018, before Communication Queens was even born, and it's been my ride or die for launching offers, automating emails, hosting courses, and now running this whole podcasting empire. If you are ready to reign online with simplicity, sovereignty, and zero tech drama, start your 30-day free trial of Kajabi. The link is in the description. Click it below. Seriously, it's a queen's choice for building an online empire. How do you read when you're in an interview? How do you read the dynamics of the host guest sort of relationship?
Yeah, I mean, well, if I'm the guest, I can kind of understand. I'm really at the mercy of the host. I mean, if I'm the guest, and a lot of times I just try to meet them where they're at. Like, I mean, they kind of have something maybe in their own heads of how they want this to go, but I try to meet them where they're at, what they want to talk about, but I also try to give them something that is entertaining and inspiring and something that, can actually keep people's attention. In the reverse role, if I'm the host and I have a guest that's like, I'm trying to say some stuff and I kind of know they may a little bit, or if I know if it's an topic or situation, I basically kind of rubber, I call it the rubber band of you bring it back real quick and then you go into something else. Like you kind of wrap it up and then you move. I don't have to do it too often, I would say, but there's certain times where you can just tell people weren't ready for a question, or they need some more context around something, or they just don't want to talk about something in particular. And then you kind of just notice it's more body language and cue, especially in person. But virtually you just try to kind of get a good sense of, body language, eyes, what are they doing? And then you kind of shift the conversation. I don't know what your experience has been as well. Because it's still a science though. Like it's still something I'm constantly learning how to get better in.
Yeah, rapport is definitely a practice. And I mean, for me, I noticed, like, am I breathing? Like, and that's just a common question that in any podcast interview, I'm like, am I breathing? Am I feeling relaxed? Am I feeling comfortable? And is the host breathing? Like if I'm a guest, and vice versa, if I'm the host interviewing, I'm like, am I breathing? And
Right.
Is my guest feeling relaxed and comfortable and sharing stories that, like, you did such a beautiful job just sharing such an epically awesome story about failure, which I think is a testament to just your courage and your vulnerability. And you being able to go there. And that's what makes you such a great guest. And also it speaks to what you talk about in congruence with having congruence around your brand and really knowing who you are, which also comes with owning your mistakes. And you did such an expert job of just demonstrating and embodying what it is that you practice and do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're all human and we're all trying to just make it through. I mean, that's that's kind of the thing I always have in my head. So like anytime I'm trying to be vulnerable or share a little bit of insight of a failure, it's like somebody else probably can resonate with this, or the more you can humanize your message and just be more vulnerable and more relatable to people, it's just a connection tool as well. You know, the more you can master that and stop trying to be so closed in or so buttoned up, everything, it's like people can kind of see through it too. Especially now with social media, I just feel like people can see past the BS, you know, or know it can't be that perfect. You know, like there's got to be some kind of flaw, you know, with you. And honestly, the flaw is it helps you appear stronger actually, because people, you know, you share those stories like, wow, that's pretty inspiring. That you're able to share that and that connection piece, and then they build a deeper connection with you, which just helps. It helps the entire way on how we communicate with it with a lot of people, you know, with within media or on a stage, in person, one to one. Like the more you can just share your own failures and past experiences, the more that they'll actually gravitate towards you.
100%. Yeah. In my book, Make Every Podcast Want You, I talk about how I call it the Jennifer Lawrence Anne Hathaway paradigm, because if you like remember back to 2013 when Jennifer Lawrence first came on the scene, she's like flipping off the paparazzi and eating McDonald's in her Oscar dress. And meanwhile, Anne Hathaway was positioned as like the perfect statuesque, like almost Audrey Hepburn-esque sort of Academy Award winner. And the press like eviscerated her. Like they just eviscerated her. In fact, there was, I think, 1.6 million hits for Anne Hathaway annoying at one point. And since then, her brand has evolved, and I've watched her humanize herself, or her PR agent, or whoever it is. But she has just evolved and had so much more authenticity around how she shows up. And like Jennifer Lawrence, everyone was praising back then. We're like, oh my gosh, she's so cool. I want to be your best friend. And like, but it's because she showcased and shared like very openly, here are my flaws. Like, and I think that also gives you a sense of, it gives you power in a way, because then no one can take that from you. If there's a shell of secrets. So if you're hiding these failures or foibles or funky things under a blanket of shame, if someone discovers it, then it's like it steals your power away versus you just owning it.
Yeah, yeah. The more you can do that, and actually that's kind of a secret you just revealed, actually, like a secret hack of how to grow on social media. And we oftentimes see it, but especially on LinkedIn, if you can be more vulnerable and get past that shame of those things, because like more people probably experience that than you think. And so the more you can openly, the more followers you're going to get. I mean, it's just, you go and follow your favorite content creators or influencers in any space. You're going to see their content like, wow, they're sharing a lot. Like, I don't know if I would share that deep of something, but then you look at the comments and there's like tons of people like being like, oh my God, thank you so much. And like, I mean, yes, there's power to it. But that's also how you grow on social media too, and especially for your podcast. If you want to, the deeper you can go on topics, the better the content, the better the result you're going to get by sharing that with more listeners, the more followers are going to come from it. So it's kind of this weird thing. You think like, oh, I don't want people to know about that, but really you do, because you're going to build a deeper connection.
150%. Jamar, I have just loved our conversation and your vulnerability and your openness, and you very meta explaining and also demonstrating in such a beautiful way. Just it really shows how expert of a craft like you have just mastered the art of communication and speaking, and you're just such a testimony for possibility. And I love that. How can we work with you? How can we connect with you? Plug yourself, my friend.
Awesome. Yeah, the best way is on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I always respond unless you're sending me some craziness. And FourEvaMedia.com. So it's FourEva media.com. That's where you can find out everything. We're trying to be the ultimate destination place for personal branding, to really help entrepreneurs and executives get to new levels, and really help their brand work for them, and help them achieve their goals within their career or within their business. We also have a podcast. We're going to have Kim on as a guest as well, so I can't wait for that. And yeah, just follow along. We got tons of experiences, tons of stuff going on, and so there's always something new and exciting.
Amazing. Jamar, it's such a pleasure to have connected with you. Big thanks and shout out to our mutual friend, Jamie White, who was the one who introduced us.
Shout out, Jamie.
Jamie. And as always, let your voice be heard. Queen, if what you just heard stirred something in you, if you are imagining how your voice, your story, your genius could be positioned with the same clarity and magnetism, then it's time. Book your visibility consultation with me today. I will guide you personally through a 7-step Communication Queen strategy, personalized connections to podcasts that need your voice, and an implementation plan that makes you unignorable. But this isn't for everyone. It's for the visionary who is ready to be seen. If that is you, click the link in the description to book your visibility consultation now. Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. For more tips on guest podcasting, storytelling, and communication strategies, follow us on social media at Communication Queens Agency and visit us at communicationqueens.com. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And in the meantime, remember, your story has the power to save one life. Let your story and your voice be heard.